What's this? A letter for me.
Welcome to another episode of Remember the Great Sports Through the Mail Thursdays. Today I'm going to share with you one that I haven't done in a long time, and that is some American Bandstand returns. If you haven't had a chance to see some of the American Bandstand returns that I've gotten over the last couple years, please definitely check out the list at the end of the video. I'll also link a few down below in the description. So we're just going to jump right into this. And the first one is a return from former teen idol, when he came onto the scene, Brian Hyland on 1 and 2 American Idol cards, American Bandstand cards. And in addition to that, he also signed the Protective Index cards. This one he signed twice. He said, "Hi Joel, keep on rockin', Brian." And then on the reverse side, he actually signed his name with a peace sign. And on this one, he just signed his name with a peace sign. So, very cool of him to sign those index cards that I just put in there strictly for protection purposes. So let me tell you about Brian Hyland, and I guarantee you're going to know his pop hit from when he was just 16 years old. Hyland was born in Queens, New York, in New York City. He studied guitar and clarinet as a child and sang in the church choir. When at age 14, he co-founded the harmony group The Delphis, which recorded a demo but failed to secure a recording contract. Hyland was actually eventually signed by Cap Records as a solo artist, issuing a debut single, Rosemary, in late 1959. A year later, in August of 1960, Hyland scored his first and biggest hit single known to date, Itsy, Bitsy, Teenie, Weenie, Yellow Polka Dot Bikini. And no, I'm not going to sing that for you. As I said, everybody knows that song. I'm going to link it down in the description to his YouTube video, and you definitely can take a listen to it. But this was by far his biggest and hugest hit at just 16 years old. So this guy was one of the original teen idols, so to speak, when it came to the music industry. After the success of that first hit, Hyland moved on to ABC Paramount Records, where he began working in songwriting with a production team. And the hits that followed were Let Me Belong to You and I'll Never Stop Wanting You. Hyland's second, I guess you would say, considered success was when he had a second hit in 1962, Sealed with a Kiss. This was not the bubblegum pop type of song. It was more kind of a slow, I love you type of song. It did get some airtime. Another 1962 hit from that same album, Ginny Come Lately, also reached number 21 on the US chart and number 5 in the UK. Another top 30 hit, Warmed Over Kisses, Leftover Love, incorporated elements of country music into his work, which would be something that you would see. From 1963 to 1969, Hyland scored several minor hits. None reached higher than number 20. An album released in 1964 featured numbers that went back to the 50s, such as Pledging My Love and Moments to Remember, at a time when the Beatles were kind of taking over the British invasion of music. Hyland would later shift into a phase of recording country music and folk rock styles, such as I'm Afraid to Go Home and Two Brothers. In 1988, a Dutch singer, Albert West, asked Hyland to record with some duets of Hyland's hit, Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini, which was remixed and released. At that point, it hit number 43 on the Dutch singles chart and really didn't make an effect over in the United States. Still to this day, Hyland tries to tour with his son Bodie. He still performs his trademark song, still to this day. So some of the ladies that are now mature that saw Brian Hyland as a teen heartthrob can still go out there and see him to this day perform his trademark song. So we'll move on to the next one. So this next performer is kind of a unique guy. Kind of did the country music thing. He did, he was all over the place, kind of did comedic I don't want to say like at the level of Weird Al Yankovic, but when I tell you the song, you'll know which one I'm talking about. And who am I talking about other than Ray Stevens himself? So you're going to be like, well, who's Ray Stevens? You'll probably know his stuff when I tell you, his songs. So let's talk about Ray Stevens. At just 18 years old, Stevens signed a record deal with Capitol Records in 1957 and produced the single Silver Bracelet. In 1958, Bill Lowry created the National Recording Corporation and hired Stevens to play numerous instruments and arrange music for vocals for some of the bands under their label. He did that for a while, and in 1961 he signed with Mercury Records. And with Mercury he released a number of, kind of comedic type songs called Harry the Hairy Ape, Funny Man, and Santa Claus is Watching You. Also, Ahab the Arab, Fast Acting, Pleasant Tasting Green and Purple Pills, which, some of those reached on the top 100. In 1966, Stevens signed with Monument Records and started to release a series of materials such as Mr. Businessman. In 1968, a top 30 hit, Have a Little Talk with Myself, along with a couple others. In the 1970s, Stevens became a producer and studio musician in Nashville. He recorded songs for Barnaby Records and Warner Brothers during 1970 to 79. Stevens' biggest hit, and probably the one that you will know the most, is his gospel-inflected single, Everything is Beautiful. And that was released in 1970, won a Grammy Award, and it hit number one on both the pop and adult contemporary charts. His other 1970 singles were America Communicate With Me and Sunset Strip, both of which hit the top 20. Now another song that kind of on the comedic side of things that you'll probably know, and again I'll list these YouTube videos down below, is in 1974 he recorded his probably second most famous hit, or most famous hit, called The Streak. And The Streak is one of those kind of funny songs. I remember it was on the episode of The Simpsons or whatever for one episode, and Stevens still has continued to perform in and around Nashville. Even in 2015, he was releasing an album spoofing Taylor Swift, calling Taylor Swift is Stalking Me. So, Ray Stevens is kind of the first, spoof type of musician. Guy's been around in the music industry for, since the 1950s, and still to this day is in the Nashville area. So definitely check out the song The Streak down below. It's kind of a funny song, and I guarantee anybody that grew up in the 1970s, whether it's your parents, your grandparents, or whatever, they're going to know the song The Streak. So we'll move on to the next one. All right, so this next individual, I don't even know how to categorize her, because she is not just a musician. She is so many other things, from an actress to a philanthropist to everything under the sun almost. And who else am I talking about than one of the most famous people from our generation? I mean, she still is even on commercials to this day. And I'm talking about Marie Osmond herself. Signed not just one, not just two. She also signed the American Bandstand card, which is the whole purpose of this video. But I happen to have some country music cards of her from her Branson days. And I also happen to have a country gold set of her. And I also had the American Bandstand card. So I'm going to cover Marie Osmond, but I'm not going to cover everything about Marie Osmond, because I could make a 30-minute video just talking about Marie Osmond herself. I mean, she has so much of a career that it spans such a long time, along with her family, the Osmonds, that, we could speak for days about Marie Osmond. So, for time purposes, we're just going to hit some of the highlights with Marie, and we'll go on from there. So, Osmond originally showed up in the early 1970s, and she was part of the Osmond family, a huge family of 9 siblings, or 8 siblings, because she's one of the 9. And after performing with her family, in 1973 she released her first single as a solo artist titled Paper Roses. The recording became a #1 country hit, reached the top 5 on the Billboard magazine pop chart, and achieved crossover success. The song Paper Roses may be familiar to you because it's actually a cover of an Anita Bryant song. The song earned her a gold record, as did the album of the same name. She released another single, In My Little Corner of the World, and an album with the same title in 1974, both entering the Billboard Top 40 in 1974. The title song on our next album, Who's Sorry Now, released in 1975, went to number 40. Additionally, in 1974, Osmond had 2 pop music duet hits with her brother Donnie, I'm Leaving It All Up to You, and Morning Side of the Mountain. In 1977, Marie released her 4th studio album titled This Is the Way That I Feel. This was a much different from her earlier covers of country artists and went into a more pop direction with her album. The album included songs that were written for her as well as songs that were written by the Bee Gees. Only 2 singles were released from that album. In 1984, Osmond released a single on RCA Records titled Who's Counting. Osmond made a comeback in country music as a solo artist by signing a joint deal with Capitol Records and Curb Records, reuniting with Mike Curb, who was a major factor in the family's success in the early 70s. In 1985, she recorded her first studio album in 7 years, There's No Stopping for Your Heart. This album had 4 singles released from it, 2 reaching #1 positions on the country charts. She had a follow-up album in 1986. In 1988, she released another album, and in 1989, she released another album. Now, to move on from the music, she also announced late 2020 that she was working on a opera album on The Talk. So I don't, while she was co-hosting The Talk, she announced that. I don't know what the release date on that is. Actually, I'm looking at it. It says December 10th, 2021 is actually going to be the release date of that album. So there's going to be a new Marie Osmond album coming out, opera-oriented. Now moving on to television. So in 1975, along with her brother Donnie, they hosted a show called Donnie and Marie. It ran through 1978, but was renamed the Osmond Family Hour in 1979. From there, she got into acting a little bit, between her music gigs, and she was on the TV ABC documentary series Ripley's Believe It or Not as a co-host. She returned to television in 1995 again on the ABC sitcom Maybe This Time. In 2012, she debuted a variety show called Marie on the Hallmark Channel, and this ran for 150 episodes. I can't honestly say that I watched that either. Marie made her debut on The Talk on September 9th, 2019 during the season 10 premiere. She basically was there for a year as she decided to leave the show in September of 2020. She's been an author, written a couple books. 3 of them are Behind the Smile, My Journey Out, Might As Well Laugh About It Now, The Key Is Loved, which was in 2013. She's just been in so many things. I can't talk about everything, on her Wikipedia page, but I will link her Wikipedia page down there if you want to do some further reading. So I'm going to wrap this video up for time purposes. I am so super excited to add country music legend / actress / author / fill in the blank talk show host artist Marie Osmond. Very happy to add that to the collection. Also very happy to add Ray Stevens, the jokester himself, to the collection. Also very happy to add Brian Hyland, one of the original teen heartthrobs from the 1960s, to the collection, along with these awesome index cards that he included. I want to thank you for taking the time to enjoy this episode. If you enjoy these American Bandstand music episodes, definitely let me know in the comments below. I'm very far and few when I send out these requests, but I'll definitely get a few more out there if you tell me you enjoy them. So thanks for your time, and as always, happy collecting.